Although much of the anger that triggered Cincinnati's 2001 unrest centered around relations between Cincinnati police and the African-American community, for many people the conflict put questions of race front and center.
Have we moved forward in race relations since then? Now, 10 years later, 9 News reporter Bill Price finds it a question that sharply divides the tri-state.
Look around Findlay Market on Sunday afternoon. The images we see today make it hard to believe this historic market was in the middle of unrest and tensions back in 2001. Over the last few years, merchants say they've seen business here grow 30% as more people come from far outside of Over the Rhine and downtown to shop here. But shopping together doesn't mean there's agreement about the state of race relations in the tri-state.
Well, actually, I think things are about the same if they've been about 20 years now or so.
I would like to hope that it has gotten better, but, you know, I was never touched personally by the riot and things that were caused, you know, because of, you know, what happened that caused the riots.
Actually, Cincinnati has gotten much better. Opportunities have been opened up for African Americans and women in Cincinnati, Ohio. I also believe that you still will remain to be where you are if you happen to be African American, and if you happen to be white, you are a little bit higher, and I think eventually we'll get to a point where we're all the same.
Well, I think people are judged too much on the way they look, maybe their mannerisms or the way they speak instead of the individual.
Among the people we spoke with at Findlay Market, we found sharp disagreements over whether the 2001 unrest helped or set back race relations. Some blame the portrayal of African Americans in the media for keeping people apart.
You are media, but you know, I'm afraid that sometimes media focuses on the negative.
Also, I believe that the news forecast sometimes portrays black people in more negative light. For instance, with the school districts, how they have Sycamore District or Latona or those type of districts on more so than the black schools. And I believe they should show black people more of a positive light.
That feeling is also echoed by international human rights activist and scholar Naomi Tutu, the daughter of the South African Archbishop Desmond Tutu. She was in Cincinnati this month as guest of the Underground Railroad Freedom Center. And she says that media perceptions are not just a Cincinnati problem, but a national one.
If I looked at race relations and, in fact, if I looked at human relations simply from what I saw on the media in this country, I would be very depressed. Because you know, the stories that we see are stories of anger, of bitterness, of divisiveness. What should we do to improve interracial relations in the tri-state and make more of us feel comfortable no matter what neighborhood we want to visit? Well, one suggestion we heard over and over again was simply to keep talking about it.
Well, it's everybody's problem. We all have to live together, and what one person does is going to affect the other person somehow. You know, like when a black person goes into a white neighborhood and they're jumped or whatever, they're not going to feel good, just like if a white person does the same thing. I mean, we have to come together and learn to love one another.
Fear is the worst thing, and fear breeds ignorance.
When we simply see a person or a group of people as a label, then we are able to oppress. But that when we open ourselves to the stories, particularly the stories of those whom we know as other, that is the opportunity for healing and growth.
Now, we're hoping that our continuing 10 Years Later project starts people of all backgrounds talking to one another about this important issue. And we know we've only started to scratch the surface because there's a wide range of opinions about this. We'd like to hear what you have to say. Just go to our website at WCPO.com and look for the 10 Years Later section. And Over the Rhine, Bill Price, 9 News.
According to Bridges for Just Communities research, in 2005, race relations was the top item on the Cincinnati civic agenda. By 2008, didn't even make the top 5, but the group says that doesn't mean people don't care about it.
See, the need for discussion around race becomes obvious when reading comments relating to this series on WCPO.com and on Facebook. For some, the discourse very real. One woman commented on our WCPO 10 Years Later Facebook page. She said this: "I like reading the articles in the 10 Years Later section, But the comments left by others in the community are often disturbing and make me not want to even come back to the site.
And frankly, there are those of us in the newsroom who've had a similar reaction, but posting the very real emotions and views of area residents may be the clearest proof of the need for this special project.
However you feel, we want to hear from your point of view in terms of how we shape our future. Join the discussion on WCPO.com, Facebook, and Twitter.